Hello, everybody. I would like to invite you to the service honoring Dr. Paul Ward. Before we begin, let's take a moment and look at our cell phones and make sure they're turned off or on silent mode so we can avoid any interruptions. I'd like to introduce Pastor Drew. He's going to lead us today. Thank you.
Yes, good morning. By way of introduction, my name is Drew Peterson. I'm one of the pastors at Faith Reformed Church, and I am honored to be here with all of you as we remember Dr. Paul. To begin, I'd like to offer this reading to you from the book of Matthew. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. And blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called the children of God. Will you pray with me? God of peace, be present with us this morning as we remember the life and the celebration of all that means for Paul. And so be with us now. Amen. So to begin, we have a song to share with you. This is by Lydia Munoz, entitled, I Believe.
I believe in the sun. I believe in the sun. Even when it's not shining. I believe in the sun. I believe in the sun. Even when it's not shining. I believe in love. I believe in love. Even when I don't feel it. I believe in love. I believe in love. Even when I don't feel it. I believe in love. I believe in God. I believe in God. Even when God is silent.
One beautiful way to honor those who have gone before us is to hear stories from them. And so this morning we'll have Rose, Don, Laura, and Julie come to share. If you were hoping to share something, there may be an opportunity later beyond this service for you to share at the internment. And so if you are thinking of a story you'd like to share, please hold that at this time. And so Rose, you can come on forward and share.
I'm first. Good morning, everybody. Gosh, it's just beautiful to see all your faces, and I know that you're here for my brother, who we all loved. Give me a second. Let me introduce myself first. I am Rose, and Paul, actually, you'll often hear others in my family calling me Rosie, but he was the one who always called me Rose. He didn't call me Rosie, but everybody else in the family probably will say Rosie to me. But I was his oldest sister. I'm gonna take a minute, if I can, and just kind of tell you a little bit about the child, Paul, and his childhood. You all know him as an adult and know what his legacy is, which was beautiful and kind and loving and caring, of course. But I knew him as a kid, and our childhood was kind of crazy, but as everybody says, I suppose. But so I'd like to take a minute and kind of walk back through that time. When Paul went on hospice. I live in Florida, and when Paul went on hospice, he said, "You can call me every single day if you want." And I said, "Oh, but I want to be respectful." And he said, "You're my sister. You don't have to be respectful." So therefore, I'm taking the privilege and asking you to bear with me as I tell some of the stories of our life. Before I begin, let me kind of point out. So I'm the oldest, and Paul was next. So there were 7 kids, 7 and under. So when I was 7, my youngest sister was born, and I'll point her out. So Paul was next. Harlan, who is not here, he lives in North Carolina. And then next were the twins. So that's Susan's first, and Linda. And then my brother Stephen in the back was born. And then Audrey, the baby. So when I was 7, you can just imagine my mother had 7 kids, 7 and under. So we grew up in a 3-bedroom house with 1 bathroom. My grandfather lived with us as well. So somebody just told me it was 800 square feet. And if you can think about the fact that I was a teenager, I mean, we were all teenagers with 1 bathroom. So we somehow we managed, right? So one of the things that happened in our lives were a bunch of nicknames, and everybody has them, I suppose, but each one of us has a very unique nickname, and I'm going to tell you about one of Paul's, and probably my first memory. But we lived in a house that back then we didn't even have an indoor toilet. So we had a little river and a creek that ran through the backyard, and the kids would go out and hunt pollywogs. And so we were out there getting our load of pollywogs, and Paul went running in the house, and I suppose he was 3 or 4, and told my parents that we weren't giving him any. And so my parents came out and said, "You got to give him some pollywogs. What are you guys doing?" And I said, "Mom, he keeps eating them." So hence he got named Pollywog, right? So that was his nickname for one of his multi nicknames. So the other, like, he was my my little brother, but my protector. And when I was gathering some stories, each one of my sisters and brothers were telling stories about how Paul was always a caregiver and watching out for them and making sure they were good, and rescued my sister from drowning and little stories like that. But so that was Paul's nature. But so I was 5 and wandering off to school by myself, probably, to catch the bus, and my brother was bidding me adieu, and a dog came running after me and was barking at me, and Paul grabbed a great big stick that was bigger than him and ran after the dog, and he said, "I will protect you, Rofi." So hence that became one of my nicknames was Rofi. So he took care of us. So our childhood was, you can imagine, was like Ma and Pa Kettle. If you guys are old enough to remember who that is, but my dad Paul loved to eat. I have to think that child Paul was probably the same as an adult. He loved food and loved to eat, and my dad would often call him Jethro, and or compare him to Jethro. And so we were at the dining room table, and my mother invited her sister over, my Aunt Agnes, over for dinner. And she said, "Well, come on and eat." And my aunt said, "No, let the kids eat first." Well, literally, if you know Ma and Pa Kettle, at the end of eating, there was just like bones. And so by the time the first pass happened, there was nothing left for my aunt. And that, my mother was trying to convince her, "No, you need to grab a plate right now." So, but it was just our childhood, and Paul was just obviously loved to eat. So, but anyway, so we had a wonderful life. He was a wonderful brother. I think one of my sisters said he never yelled at me. Which is kind of true. He was just a gentle spirit, and all the things that I could tell you that you already know about him. But he was way too young. But I just, I'll close if I can find my last page. So I know I speak for all of us wards. Each one of us could tell a million stories, but we loved him, and we're so thankful that you all loved him too. And I want to say that I miss him, and I used to call him just my bro. So I just want to say to my brother that I will see him someday, and I will see him someday soon. So I love you, bro. Thank you.
My notes are bigger, but they won't last real long. Good morning. I see a lot of faces out here. Many I should remember and I don't. Others I remember, some I've not met. But I can see in the variety of faces that Paul meant a lot to you, and or meant something a lot to somebody you care about, and you're here in support of that person. And for that, I know Paul is very grateful for that. I've known Paul almost 50 years, about this month. I can still vividly remember the very first time I met him, on a pleasant late summer day, walking just off of the EMU campus, looking for a place to rent for the fall term. So Rose covered the early part. I pick up at about 20-ish years old. Seeing a for rent sign on the front window of an old house, I paused to take in the curb appeal. Quite serendipitously, another student was walking towards me, also looking for a place to rent. To my surprise, it was someone I hadn't seen since junior high. Just as we started asking each other questions and remarking just how weird this all was, my old friend, in his Gomer Pyle-ish accent, saying, "Golly, golly." Our reacquaintance was interrupted by the sound of clanging metal and something being knocked over. There was a fight of some sort, and it was taking place from upstairs above the rental. I swear I heard the words, "On guard!" ha ha, and the sound of metal scraping. The fight proceeded out of the upstairs window and onto the roof. It was a classic pairing with butter knives for swords. I called up to the combatants as to inquire about the rental. Something like, "I say, good champions at arms, what say you on the prospects of this rental?" "Oh yeah, it's cool." And they continued on. "Aha, take that, you scurvy dog." And the clink-clanging of their fight went back through the window and into the house. I looked at my friend and said, "This place is perfect. Let's rent here." And that was my first encounter of Paul's unbridled enthusiasm on full display. Although I never picked up the skill of sword fighting with butter knives, I did on occasion, especially when hungry, hone the craft of mooching. Following the aroma drifting from the upstairs, I climbed the stairwell to their flat and politely bang on the door, plate and fork in hand, and I'd ask, "Are those pancakes I smell?" "Sure, come on in." I was asked to join in some rollicking song he and his roommate Jim were performing. They each sang and played acoustic guitar. Paul, as he's always done while playing, encouraged others to please join in any fashion that you'd like. It was a wonderful invitation and one that I'd never forget and always be grateful. From that moment on, it was a rare occasion indeed that music and singing were not a significant part of every visit. The more subtle side of Paul was every bit as rich and vibrant. You just had to take notice of it, all on your own. But it was also captured in pictures, and they are throughout all of these pictures. As long as I've known Paul, he's always been able to pause for a moment, then engage in a state of quiet appreciation with the resonance, a resonating feeling taking place inside, right then. Motionless, eyes often closed, contentment across his face, totally absorbed in rapture, a tangible gratitude. I never knew Paul to try to draw attention to these moments. They often went undetected or unaddressed. And every once in a great while, I'd be aware of one of these moments, relax, and look around, see what I was missing, and think, yeah, this is pretty cool. Paul engaged the resonance within. He made a ready space for it in his mind and employed it, the time and the moment of his notice. These last 8 to 10 years have been exceedingly difficult for Paul and Julie's families. The strength and resources involved to continue functioning daily have been immense and personal. The integration becomes felt slowly, at its own pace, to replace the intensity. For all the families that have or are going through this process, I am in awe. To refuse a new norm of self-pity, the stagnation of why me, why us, or the anguish exploding in expressions of WTFs must be daunting. The best caregivers impress me as great listeners and are astute when recognizing a person's struggles or achievements and letting them know they care for them. They create a safe place, one that becomes familiar and healing. Anyone visiting Paul and family over the last couple of months at Julie's home were witness to such a place. A loving presence consistently provided by Julie, Gus, Maddie, Will, Sierra, Anna, and Kyle. Much appreciation for your time and your travel and your effort, which was no small task. And also to my wife, Laura, who kept all concerns in order, sharing our sorrow. Again, no small task. During our many walks, Paul and I, from time to time, visited the idea brought up by a comparative mythologist. When he was asked as a scholar, "Do you think life is eternal?" he responded, "I don't know. But memories are." During this last decade, I have often come to this idea. I've also often prayed that Paula, Paul, and Julie be granted as much time, health, and energy to create and absorb as many memories as possible. Recognize and appreciate the resonance within, feeling the rapture of being truly alive and connected. Create it. Share it. Let it be with us eternally. Paul created many such memories. May they be with each one of us who experience them eternally. It's been our comforting belief.
My name is Laura. I'm Don's wife and Paul's long-term friend, as well as Paula's long-term friend. Paul wrote a goodbye letter and sent it to some people. Some people have read it already, but many have not. So I've been asked to read this to you. I didn't write it, but he wrote it probably a week or two, maybe before he died. As I come to the end of this 3-year journey with leukemia and the end of a lovely 70-year journey with life, I'd like to share a few thoughts. When I was first diagnosed, I prepared myself for a difficult journey through chemo, radiation, and with luck, a curative stem cell transplant. I knew I was facing a bit of necessary suffering, but vowed to minimize unnecessary suffering like worry, anxiety, or pointless anger. What I hadn't prepared for was the incredible moments of joy, love, and peace I experienced every day, even the days with the most pain and uncertainty. I spent months in the hospital, mostly in isolation. My ego and I had an amicable breakup when I entered the hospital and relinquished any imaginary sense of control. Goodbye, freedom. I'm swapping my home for a hospital bed. Do whatever must be done to this body. I give up everything except the love in my soul. I was cared for by the most diverse group of divine human beings from every continent and every major religion. I was bathed in the finest aspects of my human species, our ability to love and care for one another. The break room was directly across the hall and perpetually wafted aromas of international cuisine and sounds of joy and laughter my way, sometimes tears. Every day in the media were stories of man's inhumanity to man. But in my world, I only experienced loving care, kindness, and tenderness from everyone I met. I say a prayer of gratitude for the doctors, nurses, techs, researchers, pastors, music therapists, janitors, and food service workers. Thank you, Julie, Dr. Anand, Adrian, Uma, Desmond, Noble, Lois, Father Joy, Joe the janitor, and so many others. So many beautiful souls. I received over 50 life-sustaining transfusions. I consider each one of my donors and everyone who donates blood a hero. The anonymous donor and my son, who gave me their stem cells, giving selflessly from their very marrow. Gifts I can never repay. Receiving blood was like being in communion in the most profound way, truly receiving the body and the blood. I know the world is populated by a vast majority of people who love and care for one another. We're all here because many people have loved us dearly. I know that in the hospital, if we were able to love thy neighbor, sick or well, different in any and every way, I have faith that the whole world can do it too. I was not unaware of the daily dose of sorrow in the news, but my reality was that I saw the love, the divine spark in everyone, everywhere, every day. I've always loved humans. They're my species. As a doctor, I prayed each day before beginning to see patients that I would give each of them my full attention and the very best of my skills. I'm not saying I was perfect by any means, but I learned something from my patients every day, sometimes through my mistakes. Maya Angelou helped me forgive myself and encouraged me with her simple mantra, "When you know better, you do better." It made my career more than a job. It became a calling. All the care I provided in my career came back to me during this illness. I say the same prayer for my wife, my family, my friends, and community, for my planet. Let me be the person I was born to be. Love is my pole star, and truth is found standing on the side of love. If you find someone is asking you to hate someone because they're different than you, please remember that carrying hate and anger is a burden on the soul. And remember that truth is found standing on the side of love. Let love start inside of yourself. Let it flow out to your family, friends, community, all the world. Life is lovely when we are all swimming in love. The gift of knowing you have a few weeks to live is that it gives a chance to say goodbye to those you love. May we all know we are deeply loved just as we are. May we give our love freely. I bid adieu with love and with deep gratitude to each and everyone I've had the pleasure to share this life journey with. Yours always, Paul. Thank you.
I'm not sure how to follow that. But I'm going to give it a whirl, as disjointed as it's going to be. You're just lovely faces. I'm just going to ad-lib a little here. I've been reading a little bit of Hildegard of Bingen, who lived in the Middle Ages, and she considered life a symphony. I think you are all evidence that life is a symphony, with all our sounds and our faces, our emotions, our love. just come together in this one person and make a beautiful, beautiful sound. But I started to think what to do today, and so my first line is what to say on a day like today. Today is like any other day, but it's not. So let us start. First, I say to you, Ubuntu. It's a word I came across several years ago. Loosely translated from the ancient African wisdom, centuries old, is, I am because you are. I am not me without you, and you are not you without me. It's a wisdom of connectiveness, human connectiveness and connectiveness to the world as a whole. And together we are one. We are bound in love. We are bound in need of each other and to give to each other. Paul, you gave yourself to me, to son, to daughter, to sisters, to brothers, to all family, to friends, because he had no strangers in his life, I do believe, but to friends both near and far. Yet you wondered, how can I love everyone in the world? It's just too much. The message is it's too large. And then I ran across Etty Hillesum. She was a student of philosophy and died at a young age of 29 in Auschwitz. But Paul, you carried her belief in humans. You carried your love for your species, as you've heard him say. You carried on her moral duty by your love of peace. You carried, Paul, you carried Etty's wonderful philosophy without even knowing her. Etty shares herself, left us many words. She assigns us this one task. And Paul, you did carry out this task so very well. Etty says, ultimately, we have just one moral duty, to reclaim large areas of peace in ourselves, more and more peace, and to reflect it towards others. Paul, you were my reflection of peace and calm. You always knew what was important and what was not. May I reflect the peace and love you have given me. Perhaps one day, if we all do that, we will reflect peace enough to reach all the people you thought you couldn't reach. At home, one day, I will sit on my porch alone with memories of you. Someday, I will lift my heart to the sky blue with memories kissed by you. Each day, I will listen to the birds anew with memories drawn with you. Paul, you lived the good life, and it is best described by Ralph Waldo Emerson as, to live the good life is to laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition, to know even one life, and he's touched many, I interjected that part, but to know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded. And Paul, my love, you have so succeeded. Look around you and the successes before you, all of us. Paul, I want to say thank you for choosing me. I am a better me because of you. Thank you for choosing me to be in this part of your life. The journey has been beautiful. You will be missed. You will be loved forever. I'm going to try a little French here. Je t'aime. I love you, dear. May peace find us all. Thank you.
That music was composed and played by Alexis French, titled Last Trip Around the Sun. Alexis is quoted for saying this: "The music I make now has an even deeper meaning and resonance because it is tied to the wider mission of having a positive impact on the world." I share this with you because I wonder whether, given all the wonderful things we just heard, Paul would have said something similar about perhaps his medical practice and how he sought to serve others and to make a difference in their lives. Does this sound like something Paul would say? The medical practice I make now has an even deeper meaning and resonance because it is tied to a wider mission of having a positive impact on the world. Does that sound like Paul? You know, I did not have the honor of knowing Paul. I'm simply a man who tried to put the pieces together of his life that were shared with me, much like putting a puzzle together, one piece at a time until the picture appears. And the picture that appeared to me, which so many of you have already fully aware of, is that Paul's life was lived in such a way to have a positive impact on us, inspiring hope and comfort in our hearts. He lived a life of generosity and care for others. Reading the comments on Facebook under his obituary, it's evident that his kindness and love deeply touched many, many people, fostering feelings of warmth, of gratitude, and appreciation amongst us all. In so many unique and beautiful ways, Paul's life had and still maintains not only a beautiful correlation to what Alexis French said, but also, and perhaps even more importantly, to the passage that I read earlier, the Beatitudes, which remind us of the virtues that Paul exemplified in his life. Please allow me a moment to share what I know of Jesus in these words and the connection I see between how Paul lived his life. Again, from verse 3, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." To be poor in spirit means to be humble and dependent upon God for one's provision in life. Not only provisions of a home, income, food, but also of provisions of connection with friends, family, co-workers, colleagues, and with God. And in this passage, Jesus mentioned the kingdom of heaven, which many assume to be the afterlife, which according to some beliefs it is, and it is also the kingdom of the here and now, which I believe Paul experienced in some ways. The kingdom of heaven, or the kingdom of God, refers to God's ongoing activities in the here and now, not just in the afterlife, but here and now to bring about goodness and peace, justice, healing, and so much more. Paul exemplified these qualities. He was a healer. He was a man of justice, a man of peace, showing us how to live these out, these divine qualities in our lives. Verse 4, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted." I cannot even begin to imagine how many tears were shed in Paul's life. As a doctor who was dedicated to the well-being of his patients and obligated to share the difficult news with them, he must have witnessed a great deal of sadness and pain. And it's not hard to imagine that at times Paul also mourned with those who suffered great loss. And in this, Paul was used by God to comfort people, not only to cry with them, but also to journey with them in some of the darkest places imaginable. Perhaps he journeyed with some of you in those dark places. Verse 5, "Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth." In this verse, meek means strength under control. It's rooted in the ancient Greek. It describes as a disciplined or a humbled spirit. Was Paul a meek man? Was he a disciplined man with a humbled spirit? It would be hard to argue that he wasn't meek given these pictures that we've seen of Paul and the community of friends and family who are here now. One of the ways to understand that kind of meekness that Jesus is referring to is found in the story of the centurion. In this story in the Gospel of Matthew, a Roman centurion had a deathly sick servant. He heard of Jesus' miraculous healing power, and he came to Jesus to ask for help. Allow me to read this for you. When Jesus had entered Capernaum, a centurion came to him, asking for help. "Lord," he said, "my servant lies at home, paralyzed, suffering terribly." Jesus said to him, "Shall I come to heal him?" The centurion replied, "Lord, I do not deserve to have you come under my roof, but just say the word, and my servant will be healed. For I am a man myself, under authority, with soldiers under me. I tell this one to go, and he goes. This one to come, and he comes. I say to my servant, do this, and he does it." When Jesus heard this, he was amazed and said to those following him, "Truly, I tell you, I have not found anyone in Israel with such great faith. I say to you that many will come from the east and the west and will take their places at the feast of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven." I share this with you because meekness is the capacity, it's the desire, it's the character to entrust one's life to God, the divine one who lives supreme over all creation. I've been told that Paul believed in God, and I believe his life reflected that faith through his trust in divine guidance and humility. Many of you experienced his meekness and trust in God firsthand, which made his actions and character all that much more inspiring. Then in verse 6 it says this, "Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled." What does righteousness mean? Well, in this particular passage, Jesus is referring to morality and justice. To know what is right, what is true, what is good, what is pure, and to pursue that with unwavering conviction. And in many ways, the following verse compounds. Have you been the recipients of his goodness? Have you been recipients of his efforts to be moral and just? Have you felt his mercy? Then in verses 8 and 9, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God." In these final verses, Jesus points his listeners to embrace a pure heart. A heart that is not filled with jealousy or anger, a heart not filled with fear or shame, but a heart of peace and of purity. In my experience, people who have peace and purity in their hearts are truly safe people, which is a rare gift in this world, is it not? Someone you can feel truly safe around allows you to share the secret aspects of your life with them, knowing they will not betray you with the knowledge that they have. Based on the little I know of all of you, Paul offered this safety to each one of you. And I attribute that to Paul's loving intentions towards people. Did you see this in his life? Were you given the gift of safety from Paul? If you did, you were blessed. To conclude, Jesus expresses a profoundly different way of being in the world, not centered around divisive grabs for power and control, resulting in immense pain and strife. Rather, Jesus reveals a path that leads to the abundant life, an abundant life which I am told Paul strived to live in, which honored God's divine fingerprint upon his very life. He strived to live as Jesus taught here in this passage. We too ought to live this way, and we are blessed to have this man, this husband, this brother, this patient, this father, this friend, this colleague, this boss, this doctor living amongst us, modeling a better way to live, which can all be summed up into a life of love. May we all strive for such a love for others as Paul modeled in his life. And now we'll play a song that Paul wrote and performed, titled Love Song, track number 7.
I was younger once, I had to get through every trial alone, all by myself, la 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 la. And after all my love was given, I did not know that I was to receive, be forgiven, forgive me, but I did not know that. Nothing this beautiful can be made alone. No life of meaning can be had solo. Everybody needs someone to have and hold, because nothing this beautiful can be made alone. And I have lost those that I've cherished and held dear. I did not possess the skills to keep them safe and near. Forgive me. Na 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 na. But I still have the gifts they've given me here within me. And now I know that nothing this beautiful can be made alone. No life of meaning can be had solo. Let's help each other everywhere we go, because because nothing this beautiful can be made alone. There is music in this life, melodies lilting in the air, voices join in harmony. The divine is everywhere and within you. Time to become aware. Nothing this beautiful can be made alone. The divine is everywhere. Nothing this beautiful can be made alone. It's everywhere within you. Nothing this beautiful can be made alone. Isn't it time to share what's in you? Nothing this beautiful can be made alone. Oh, it's everywhere. It's in you. Nothing this beautiful can be made alone. Time to become aware.
To close, will you pray with me? God, you know Paul's heart and the life that he lived. You know his beliefs, his feelings, his every thought. And so we ask you that you will hold him in your loving and grace-filled hands. Be also with us as we journey into the rest of our lives, feeling the void of where he once was. Comfort us as we mourn. Share your peace with us as we navigate some of those dark places in life without his presence to guide us. Pray this in your name. Amen.
On behalf of Paul's family, I'd like to thank Drew for his wonderful message here today. And I'd also like to thank each and every one of you for joining us. I've also been asked to invite everyone to a luncheon. The luncheon is going to be followed immediately following this service at the U Church. If you're unfamiliar with where that is, please come and see me. I'll make sure you have their address. This does conclude our services. May we all go in peace. Thank you.
You can play the game, you can act out the part, though you know it wasn't written for you. Tell me how to stand there with your broken heart, ashamed of playing a fool. When one thing can lead to another, it doesn't take any sacrifice now. Oh, father and mother and sister and brother, if it feels nice, don't think twice. Shower the people you love with love. Show them the way that you feel. Things are gonna be just fine if we only will. All I really mean to say is shower the people you love with love. Show them the way that you feel. Things are gonna be much better if we only will. You can run, but you cannot hide. No, this is widely known. And what you plan to do with your foolish pride when you're all by yourself alone. Once you tell somebody the way that you feel, you can feel it beginning to ease. I think it's true what they say about the squeaky wheel always getting grease. Better to shower the people you love with things are going to turn out right if we only will. If we only will tonight. Show the people you love with love. You got to show them the way that you feel, yeah. Things are gonna be much better if we only will. Shower the people you love with love. Show them the way that you feel. Shower the people you love with love. Show them the way that you feel. They say, shower the people you love with love. You know the rain will fall. But like the pouring down rain, pouring down, make it rain. Yeah, make it rain down, love, 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 a sunshine. Make it rain down, love, 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 a sunshine. Yeah, say everybody, everybody, show them love somebody. Somebody gonna love someone. Love, 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 love. Things will be much better for all.